next set of cards is the Ultimatums.
Yeah, I figured we'd just talk about these kind of all at once because there's been a lot of people making comparisons about them.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be easier if we just talked about them kind of all at once and maybe put a ranking on them.
Yeah, so first, like, these kind of feel like they should be mythics and they're not. They're all rares.
Yeah, these are very powerful. I think the only thing that stops them from being mythics is the extremely prohibitive mana cost.
Yeah. And so they represent each of the wedges.
Mm-hmm.
And it's double color, triple color, double color.
Mm-hmm.
And like we just said, each wedge is kind of exemplified.
Seated in a color.
Yeah, is most strongly associated with one color.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of like rotate the triple color around.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is Emergent Ultimatum, which is the Sultai one. It's black, black, green, 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 blue, blue.
Yep.
For a sorcery. And it's search your library for up to 3 monocolored cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of those cards, and you shuffle that card into your library, and you may cast the other cards without paying their mana costs. Then you exile Emergent Ultimatum.
Yep. And I think when we were comparing show notes or whatever, you had this one down as what you thought was the best one?
I think just because you pay 7 mana, and in Standard, you're going to get probably 12 mana worth of stuff out of it. So I don't know. So I just feel like that's going to be a stronger, just a stronger thing. Like the fact that you get to search your deck for whatever monocolored thing you need.
Yeah.
And then play it. And I know that your opponent gets to pick one of them. But if you search for, I don't know, the big 7 mana mammoth that's a 6/6 that fights something when it comes to the battlefield.
Oh yeah, was it Thorn Mammoth?
Thorn Mammoth, and then you search for the monkey in this set that's like a 7/6 that fights something when it comes into play, and when it attacks, it destroys an artifact or enchantment, and an Agent of Treachery.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a hard one.
What do they give you?
Yeah.
Right, it's like, well, if you have creatures, you're going to lose a creature.
And you can get like Villas with this, right?
Oh yeah, you can get Villas.
Yeah.
Right, so like, there are just so many things that you're just like, none of these are good for you to give me. And you can just get whatever thing you need at that point in the game. You can be like, oh, I want like Anissa, an Agent of Treachery, and fill in the blank. And, well, they can't give you the Nissa because if you untap, they lose the game.
Right, and they can't give you the Agent because you'll just take their best thing.
Yeah, and they can't give you what the other thing is because it deals with whatever issue you're having right now.
Yeah.
So, and again, kind of like with the Mutate Mythics, it's blue and green. Like, you're going to be able to consistently cast this on turn 5.
Yeah. So I kind of think that this next one is the best one.
Okay.
I 100% understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. But I think this next one is... You're not going to... Okay, I don't know how to say this. You're not necessarily going to get the same mana advantage you are with Emergent Ultimatum, where, you pay 7 mana and you get 12 mana worth of stuff. But with Eerie Ultimatum, the Abzan one, it's a white, black, 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 green, green. Return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. This one plays a lot grindier game, I think. Instead of winning the game all on one turn, you're gonna get a Planeswalker, your Fabled Passage, a Wicked Wolf. Whatever you've already used that game, you just get to put back on the battlefield and do it all over again. And you don't give your opponent the choice. Like, it's just gonna happen. And I think it's also important that this doesn't specify creatures. It's just permanents. So you get back. It kind of fills a similar role to, like, remember those old Seasons Past control decks?
Yeah.
They were just like black-green, looping Seasons Past over and over again. I think this kind of fills a similar role as Seasons Past did.
I think that a more like reasonable, more modern analogy is Command the Dreadhorde.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's limited to your graveyard, but you're not gated by life. You're just like, hey, I've got...
Realistically, it's only one more mana than Command the Dreadhorde.
And so I think the thing with this one is it does require like more setup, right? Like there are times where you're gonna draw it on turn. You're just gonna be in your opening hand, and you're gonna be like, all right, I need to aggressively trade stuff to make this do anything. But it is, if it does get to do something, it is really good. Like this could go into a deck that is the 4-color command deck, but instead of playing, you know, some of those same things, you're on Cavalier of Thorns and Tamiyo, where you're just trying to turbo flip your deck over, and then you want to go Tamiyo down to get my Eerie Ultimatum, and then next turn, like, you have a counter spell, or I'm going to put, you know, 15, 20 mana worth of stuff onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so that could be kind of where this kind of fits, as long as your mana works well enough that you can get it back. Because I think you need to be like kind of turbo flipping your deck over to really bust it.
Yeah, but like that's kind of what the Abzan deck wants to do anyway, though, right? With was it Fiend Hunter or whatever that other card was that we talked about? Like you kind of want to be putting stuff in your graveyard.
Oh, Fiend Artisan.
Fiend Artisan, yeah. Like that's kind of what that deck wants to do anyway.
Yeah, and you have the tools from again from the Ravnica block with the Golgari creatures.
And like this deck probably also wants to play Elspeth also.
Yeah.
Which is another like mill. Yeah, you just get her back either with this or by escaping her.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are things you can do.
Yeah, that's a deck that I think I want to mess around with a little bit, see if it's any good.
Yeah, I think both of the first two, you can just get such an absurd mana advantage off of them, like that it's just like almost not reasonable. Where you're just like, wow, okay. So Emergent Ultimatum, it's not permanent. It's 3 monocolored cards. So you could just like get Command the Dreadhorde and just put all the cards in your graveyard the battlefield. You could get like, you could, you know, cast 12 mana worth of stuff and put 22 mana worth of stuff on the battlefield. Yeah,
you could also get like Bolas's Citadel, and then pay 7 life to cast another one of these off the top.
If he did that to someone, they just have to scoop up all their cards and just be like, I'm done here. I can never play Magic again.
Yeah.
This is awful.
That kind of does lead me to something else that I wanted to say about these ultimatums, and that's that at least for these first two, like the next two that we're going to talk about in a little bit different context, but at least for these first two, there is like a finite amount of these that you want in your list. You don't want to play either of these as a 4 of. Like you don't want to ever look at your opening 7 and see one of these in it, because there's no way you're going to cast it on time.
You of little faith. Like, we're in a world where we've been casting Hydroid Crisis for 12.
Okay, so maybe Emergent Ultimatum. I don't want to see Eerie Ultimatum until like turn 8. Yeah,
because Eerie Ultimatum is, you need more setup. You either need to have filled your graveyard, or you needed to have the time to, like you said, trade resources and then just all of a sudden like catch back up. I know we skipped over the Abzan, whatever it is, the Mythic Mutate guy. But that one is when it comes in, when it mutates, you get to put 10 power worth of stuff from your graveyard onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
So
seems relevant.
Again, seems.
Yeah.
So these first two can give you a big mana advantage with some setup. The next one is also can give you a huge mana advantage, but it requires you're rolling the dice a little bit more.
Yeah.
And this is Genesis Ultimatum. Which is green, blue, red.
This is the teamer one.
This is a teamer one. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put any number of permanent cards from among them onto the battlefield and the rest into your hand, and then you exile it.
Seems decent.
So this is encouraging you to play a lot of permanents, first of all. So you're playing a creature-heavy deck. This is, again, you're going to lean on Brazen Borrower and Bone Crusher Giant.
Yep.
It'd be your cheap interaction that also lets you like hit them with Genesis Ultimatum. So it's always draw 5.
Yes.
But then sometimes it's draw 5, play 3 of them. Yes.
Yeah.
It lets you play lands, so it like also ramps you.
Yep.
but I just feel like it requires a little more. It's a little more spin the wheel.
Yeah, which is kind of why I lumped it in with the next one. Inspired Ultimatum is the Jeskai one. It's a blue, red, white. Target player gains 5 life. Inspired Ultimatum deals 5 damage to any target, and then you draw 5 cards.
Yes.
It's kind of why I lumped these two together, because they do somewhat similar things, and I think that they both need to be tested out in a Fire's shell.
Yeah, they can be really good if you... That is like you get to 7 mana with your Fires, and then you're just like...
All
reload.
Of my
deck. Reload, or put like 2 Cavaliers and a Kenrith on the battlefield from your Genesis Ultimatum. Yeah,
that draws you an Inspired Ultimatum that you cast for your second spell that turn.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I don't know if you saw the cartoon, the meme about Inspired Ultimatum.
No.
There was like a group of people putting their hands in. It was blue put in its hand. It was like draw 5 cards, and red put in its hand. It was like deal 5 damage, and white put in its hand. It was like gain 5 life. And everyone just glared at white. Like, this is the one that the first 3 we talked about, like, it was kind of like a mush of what those colors did.
Individually,
right? Yeah.
They were all things that each of those colors could have done.
Or it was kind of like a combination of things.
Yeah.
This one was like, red deals damage, white gains life. Okay, cool. Like, it seems like this is the least inspired of the designs.
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it just seems like, well, what does blue do? It draws cards. What does red do? It deals damage. What does white do? I guess it gains life. Okay, cool. So it just seems odd, like, compared to all the other ones. It was like, oh, these are like kind of like a hybrid of what everything does. This one's just like, check off the laundry list and be done.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that one's probably the worst. I guess you can't complain too much about a 7 mana draw 5.
No, I think the Mardu one's the worst, the one that we haven't talked about yet. But again, like I said, I think the reason that I lump both of these together is I think that like there is a reason to try out like a different Fires list where you're more like the new Explosive Vegetation and Fires. So you're like, cast your Fires, second spell for that turn. The new Explosive Veg gets you to 6 mana. Land for turn. Your first spell's Inspired Ultimatum. Knock something off the board, draw 5 cards. Oh, you found your Genesis Ultimatum. Cast that, fill up your battlefield, Kenrith, Cavaliers, whatever.
Yeah. Clown someone. Yes.
Yeah, like that deck will just end a game.
Yes.
Like there's no like you taking 2 or 3 turns after you stick your Fires to end a game. Like that will just end the game.
Yeah, you're just like, yep, I did everything.
Yeah. So I think there is, something there. I really haven't. We were talking, before we were putting this episode together, we had talked a little bit about how we're both a little bit checked out right now. This was kind of a really weird spoiler season for both of us because of, what else is going on in the world right now and kind of how they rolled the spoilers out and, a bunch of little things that added up to both of us being a little bit checked out. So I haven't spent a lot of time looking at what people are brewing up right now. But I'm also not oblivious to the fact that, social media is covered in, all of these decks people are working on. I really haven't seen anybody working on a new Fires list.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's not out there, but like that's where my mind went when I saw both of these cards.
Yeah, and I mean with Fires, the fact that the mana is prohibitive is not a big deal because you don't care about mana cost.
Yeah, you don't care at all.
You're just like, all right, cool. So okay, then you have the last one as the worst one, which is Ruinous Ultimatum.
Yeah, it's a red, white, black. So it's the Mardu one. Destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Like a one-sided Wrath is always good.
Yeah, I mean, it's Plague Wind, right?
Yeah.
And Plague Wind is 7 mana?
Yes.
5 black?
Okay.
Or is it 7 black?
It's something ridiculous.
Yeah. And this is just like harder to cast Plague Wind.
Yeah. This seems like one that if you cast it, you win the game. It's 7, Plague Wind is 7 black.
Yeah.
And it's destroy all creatures you don't control.
Okay. So this is all permanents, but
all permanents.
A lot of times that's going to be the same thing though.
It is. This one's probably, from what I've seen, seems like it has a home in Commander.
Oh, okay.
Where like you just,
Maybe.
But yeah, I think that like the first 3 are really strong, and the last to require a little bit more work.
Yeah.
And if you're like a little turned off by the mana cost, Cruel Ultimatum, which is the Grixis version of this from like a million years ago, was played all the time. Like that was the format. And I feel like our mana is probably better. They had the Vivid Lands, but I feel like the mana in this standard is going to be great.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a minute.
So even though these look like they have prohibitively difficult casting costs, they don't.
Right.
Like you're going to hit your land, your colors all the time.
I hope so.